Welcome back to the channel. This is Roberto with Full Curl Precision. For tonight, I'm going to go over some of the range results I had. I put together some hand loads I was testing. 136 grain Terminal Ascent, 140 grain Sierra Game Changers, and some 150 grain Accubon, which I know my rifle likes. So just to start off from the beginning, the overall consensus is the load I originally had to begin with. All I did was swap out primers, and I'm getting a little bit better consistent numbers as far as my velocities. It is tightening it up. It's still not as tight as it could be, but I'm okay with it. My groups are still really good, so I'm happy with that. And so I'm gonna stick with what I have, which is my rifle likes the 150 grain Nosler Accubon long range. And because of the area we have to shoot, again, we don't have like a big open area, at least unless I'm taking the time to set up targets. So all I'm doing is lining up my chronograph with my target, and I'm shooting it at 50 yards. And then whatever that number is for my group size, I just double it to make it 100 yards. So that's the way I do it, just for simplicity. There's also, I think between my scope height and everything else, if I zero for 200 yards, my first initial cross point is actually at 38 to 40 yards. So I don't have to really go out of my way to sight in at 100 yards and then adjust a little bit and do this, that, and the third. I can just sight in at like 40 yards, and I'll automatically take it straight out to 200 and see if I can hit a plate. And for the most part, I found that I can just do that, and it works really well because, and then I'll tweak it if I have to, but beyond that, it does pretty well. So let me turn the camera around and I'll show you what we're working with today. So one of the first things I noticed is whether it was a Ramshot Hunter powder or the H4350, I was able to go up a little bit more on my powder charges, and I don't think I had any, if I remember right, that were really bad. I didn't have any like cratering or like a real flattened primer where I felt concerned of any kind. So last time, and I'm going to retest it because I had some issues with my chronograph because of the sunlight and different things like that. Because it has these reflectors, I might eventually pick up a better chronograph, but for now, it's what I have. But some of it didn't, some it picked up, some it didn't. Like for instance, we got an error on this one. I'm not sure if that was, I don't think it was my hand load on that one. With the 136 grain Terminal Ascent, because I got closer numbers with these other loads, like some pretty decent groupings. That's not bad. I mean, that's not a real big spread from my low of 30,009 to a high of 3,025. And that's with the 136 grain Terminal Ascent, Ramshot Hunter, and the Federal Gold Medal Match. So it's actually a pretty tight group. Here's one that was actually pretty good too, with 57 grains. And I'm getting 3042, 3065, 3045. So this, I kind of wonder if that really, you got two that are shooting in a pretty consistent pattern. So I don't think this is the powder or that. I think it was just my chronograph acting up a little bit. So I'll have to check and see what I can do with that. Excuse me. I've been really thinking about being able to save up for the Garmin anyway, but that's besides the point. But yeah, overall, all the brass, whether I was shooting the 150s, the 140s, or the 136s, none of them are looking bad at all. They're not flattened. There's no cratering. I'm glad. Thank you for the suggestions to try them. To go to a standard primer. Again, here's the highest charge off of the 140s. Those acted a little funny too, and I was just doing a pressure test more than anything else, so I really wasn't paying attention. But that's the 140 grain Sierras, and a little bit more of a gap in that one, but not terrible. Still over 3,100 feet per second, 3,125 average. I'm happy with that with a 140. Again, I don't know if that's really accurate, 32.26. So I think that's inaccurate. But here was a low one I got with the 136. So I'm thinking it was supposed to be averaging a little bit faster than the 140s, maybe like 3150, 3160, which is where I was initially thinking to begin with, not 3243 from the other day or whatever it was, 3246. But here's the one that actually surprised me, and I'm really happy with this. I think that was me, and some of my shots I pulled a little bit, so I ended up taking some extra shots. But anyway, 54 grains with the 150 grain ABLR with the H4350. Look at this average. 3,016 feet per second average with a 3-shot group, and my group at 50 yards is 0.306. So if you double that, it's 0.612. I can live with that. I'm happy with that. That's just over half MOA. That's barely over half MOA. For what I do for hunting, that's fantastic. That's perfect. While I got a couple errors on this one, this is one of my tightest. This is like my tightest group, 53 grains of the H4350. I only got one reading, which is 2888. The other two are errors, but I got a group size of 0.269. So so round it up, let's say it's 0.27. So double that, that's 0.54. Again, you're talking right at half MOA. So it's really tight. The 136 grain terminal scents weren't the tightest, but not terrible. At a 0.36, which is the tightest one, you double that, that's a 0.72. So sub MOA. Still a solid group. With 57 grains, and this is actually kind of cool. I noticed with the Ramshot Hunter, the higher the charge went, the tighter the groupings got. So what I noticed is this one, which is actually pretty good, 3,050 feet per second, and 0.402. So you double it, it's 0.8. So still again, you're talking sub MOA. And then the worst one was at 56 grains, 3,017 feet per second. I was getting a group of 0.533. So again, double that, you're at 1.06. So you're right at 1 MOA. Not a terrible group by any stretch of the imagination. Is it what I would want if I have better when I have other options? No, because I don't see the point in having a 136 grain bullet like that. Which, frankly, they're pretty stinking expensive to load for hand loading. Box of 50s, like just the bullets alone are over $1 a piece. They're pretty stinking expensive. So, I mean, here's the thing. If I'm going to spend that kind of money, my rifle likes this better. The 150s, I get more energy, much higher BC, and I'm still getting over 3,000 feet per second because... it's like, okay, I'm getting 3,016 feet per second average as opposed to, maybe right around 3,100. But my BC is considerably better with this 150 than I am with the 136. As a matter of fact, it's a difference of like 0.1. Because it's 0.49 and change for the terminal ascent, and it's 0.591 for the 150 grain Accubon long range. So it's actually significantly better. And if my velocities are pretty close, I'm not only going to get flatter out to even 400 yards, I'm going to be hitting with far more authority. So I'm going to stick with the 150s. That's going to be good for deer, elk, pronghorn, everything else. I already know what the formula is. I'm pretty happy with that. So that's my plan. Not to mention, H4350 is really good at being consistent regardless of the temperature. This one was actually pretty good. Here's what's crazy. Even though I was only doing a pressure test for those 55s, the 140s, and the 140s weren't doing terrible. They were about on par with the terminal sense. The 52, I really wasn't paying attention to the group sizing because I was more concerned about why was it reading so inconsistently. 2917, like 3126, 3016, 2917. There's no way that you have a 200 feet per second difference when everything else is actually within, within a much more reasonable range, like this. 3122, 3145, 3108. And I'm getting extreme spreads off of this. Yeah, I think there's something up with my chronograph, so I'm gonna have to figure that one out. But look, the last one, which is the 55 grain TGK, it's hard to tell, but that's 3 bullets. So I wasn't getting really great groups with others, but for some reason, that one is 3 rounds. And let me see if I can't remember if I put I don't have my calipers right here though. So what that makes me really happy to see, but the thing is I need to be able to get an accurate reading. So do this real quick. That group size point, something like, let me measure that one more time. Hold the hole. There we go. 0.2685. So it's a good group. It's touching. And that's really good. But it's not any better than what I'm getting with. It's not really significantly better. Because 0.2685, I'm getting a 0.269, with the 150s. And I'm at 0.306. Now, it's easy to go, well, why don't you just go with this lower, tighter group? Well, the real question is why. I'll answer the question as to why I wouldn't. And that is very plain and simple to me. Let me turn the camera around. The reason why is because if you double, so you double these numbers, right, to make it 100 yards for simple understanding your MOAs, things like that. So at a 0.27, if you double it up, you're at a 0.254. And with the 0.306 double it, you're at a 0.612. The difference between 0.612 and 0.54 is minuscule. It's not going to make a difference for your average hunting application. So if I am talking an absolute minuscule difference in my group size, but I'm getting, let's say, 50 to 60 feet per second faster. Again, excuse me. Got the settle burps from eating. Anyway, but if I'm getting just a minuscule difference in group size, but I'm getting more energy and better velocity, more energy, downrange performance, the whole thing, why am I going to worry about such a small incremental difference? It doesn't make sense. There's no reason for me to do that. Instead, I would rather have the slightly larger group. And when I say slightly, again, you're talking about a difference of 0.006. So, or 0.06. So you're not talking about a whole lot of difference between the group sizes. At 400 or 500 yards, is that going to make any significant difference? No. But the thing is, I'm getting that kind of group size difference, but I'm also maintaining more velocity, that better energy. And at 3,016 feet per second, are you kidding me? That's fantastic. I mean, the thing is, this is an absolute powerhouse that you could use. It's basically, think of as a 7 rem mag light. You know what's crazy is if you go and you buy Federal Fusions in 7 rem mag in the 150 grain load, it's advertised at 3,050 feet per second. So my 150 grain here has a much higher BC. I believe that the 150 grain Federal Fusion is like 0.509 or something like that. It's just over the 0.5 mark. It's pretty good. But I'm getting 0.591, and I'm only looking at a difference of 32 feet per second out of the same lengths of barrels. So, and here's the thing. I want you to understand, I have nothing but respect for the Federal Fusions. I love them. I've hunted with them. I've had great success with them. They are a bonded. They do exactly as a bonded should. I love them. They're great. They're great bullets. Anything within 500 yards, you're going to be absolutely fine with the 7 rem mag with a 150 grain Federal Fusion. And I'm including elk with that. So, but here's the thing. Again, I'm getting less money invested into these rounds. I'm getting really good velocities, really good energies, and I'm getting tight groups. I'm happy with that. Like I said, this is not a bench rest rifle. I've mentioned that before, so it's not like I'm looking to have 1/4 inch groups. I'm not sitting at a bench. I'm just trying to be able to take this out and go collect some meat. That's what this is for. So, for the guys who are like, oh yeah, you can get tighter groups than that. Yeah, I could, but I'm not going to take the time because that's as good as it's going to get. I'm happy with that. That same type of performance I was using last season, and I can tell you right now, I have no problem at all, even if a big bull stepped out within 400 yards with that kind of velocity, that kind of bullet construction, everything, taking a shot on a big bull elk. Would I take a frontal shot or a hard quartering 2 shot? No. But if I have a position where I can sneak that bullet behind the shoulder into the vitals, yeah. I would absolutely do that. So, that's all I have for tonight. For those, again, who follow, I appreciate all that you do. I'm going to be getting some updated ammo boxes here for myself with some of the new logo configuration. Same logo, we're just reconfiguring it on the box a little bit. I know one of our viewers has already gotten his 20s with it, and I was like, I'm liking that better. Actually, both look good, but I'm liking that better. So I'm going to be getting my own boxes here and be able to start loading with those. But the plan is with this is I'm basically getting on the lighter, think of it as performance of a 7 rem mag, but on the lighter end of it. But I'm doing it at like $1.50 a round. And that's like the expensive version. This is not going to be a terrible idea here because I'm going to be able to get that type of performance, and I don't need a 280 AI to do it. The 150 to 150 grain bullet for your average hunter is going to do everything. And I know there's going to be questions of why don't you just get a 6.5 PRC and use that. because here's the thing: anytime you get a fatter body, you lose uh, you lose volume inside your magazine. Excuse me. There it is. There's the word magazine. You lose magazine capacity. So any of and as much as people want to say that the 6.5 PRC is not a short magnum, I disagree. It's shaped like a short magnum. It acts like a short magnum. And it has the same results with the body width. It's basically a short magnum. It's just not as much of it as one as a WSM. But either way, I can get similar performance to a 6.5 PRC out to 500 yards, quite easily with good energy and performance, good wind bucking, because .591 is not a slouch for its BC. I don't care what anyone has to say. It's pretty solid. But it's going to cost me not that much, about the same amount of cost to do a 6.5 PRC, but I feel like these hit harder. I've hunted with the 6.5 PRC. I find that 270 just hits game harder than the 6.5 PRC does. So I like my 270. I can fit the extra round or two in the magazine, and it doesn't cost me an arm and leg to do it. And there's just as many good rifle options, in my opinion. So anyway, that's what I have for tonight. I appreciate all the support. Please like, subscribe, share, comment. Help us get to 200. We'll talk to you again.